A lot of people ask me like, what sets you apart, or what's different about your business, or what's different about you, and I search because a lot of people are gonna say the same thing. Well, we work hard, we care about clients, we put them first. Yeah, that's true, right? But I think when we look at our business and the way we try to set ourselves apart from the rest of the competition, it's it's purpose and value. So what's the purpose? What's the true purpose of why I do what I do? What's the true purpose of why we do what we do? And the true purpose is to help our clients live the most fulfilled or fulfilling life they can live.
Welcome back to another episode of the Big Hitters Podcast, and I'm joined by Brandon Bauer. He is a partner at Voisard Financial Group. He's a certified financial planner, and Brandon's doing a lot of really cool things. He's got a lot of great video content. He has built up a very impressive wealth management firm. He also, before we hopped on, was telling me about how he is truly a fee-only advisor, which is, fascinating. So Brandon, my first question, and by the way, thank you for joining us. My first question is always the same. Who are you? How'd you get here?
Yeah. Well, again, thanks for having me, Andrew. I appreciate the time today. And my story is very unconventional. Some people go from A to B in a straight line, and then some people take the long route or a zigzag route. And I think I'm more of a zigzag kind of guy for whatever reason, as fate may have it. So I graduated from college in 2008, which, if we recall, that time frame was pretty crazy. And so I was in Grand Rapids, Michigan, and I got a call from a bank called PNC Bank. I'm not sure if you recall that. National City Bank, which is now PNC. And they said, "Hey, we've got a job for you, and it pays $42,000 a year." And I thought, man, I am rich. I made it. Let's go. So I moved to Chicago, North Shore suburbs up there. And 3 months into this stint, I was a retail development associate, so kind of a management training program. I got a call, and they said, "Hey, National City Bank's being sold. They got caught up in the mortgage debacle, and I don't know if you're going to have a job." So I thought, So the program I'm in was a 3-year program, and they said the conversion would take 1.5 years to 2 years. So I'm thinking they're going to cut this program. So I've got one choice: rip through this program so I'm out of it before they can cut it, right? So they said, "It'll take you 3 years to get through it." So 1.5 years, I get into an assistant branch manager role in downtown Chicago. And lo and behold, I figured out that I didn't really love the retail banking side of life. And I thought, well, I'm going to try something else. So I decided to go to financial recruiting, which is like not even the same, right? I mean, you deal with money a little bit in some regards, but it's totally separate. And so I've got some really like crazy stories from the recruiting job. There was 5 of us in this like one room office, and we'd be making 50 to 100 calls a day. And like some guys would be flying little mini helicopters around while you're trying to make calls. Like it was a really weird dynamic, but awesome. Like just a really cool atmosphere. So I went from corporate America, right, to HR, to like this 5-person company, to like, what is HR, right? I mean, it's very, very different. And so I was only there for about 1 year or so, and I just decided like, I didn't love recruiting. I mean, that was like sales all the time. But very needed. Like it's a great company. The guys are great. I still talk to them today. And so I went into this company called Adventus CG. I met this guy at church named Dave Lewicki out of Chicago, former investment banker. So he decided to start this company. They do financial modeling, and their number one client or main client was Underwriters Laboratory, UL. So if you look at the back of like any light fixture, it's going to be UL certified basically. And so there was 4 of us in the master bedroom of a condo, and that was our office. And then there was 2 other bedrooms where one of the analysts lived, and then the owner lived. It was like it was crazy. So I did that for about 1 year, and then we found out that Underwriters Laboratory was going to go in-house with some of the stuff they're doing. So I thought, well, this isn't going to work. He's not going to be able to pay me, doesn't need me. And so I decided to look for a role in West Michigan, where I'm originally from, and I interviewed with Greenleaf Trust, which is owned by the Stryker family. So largest institutional shareholder of Stryker stock. Minimum investments was $2 million, and it was a fiduciary fee only as well. Didn't sell insurance, didn't sell products, didn't sell front load, nothing. So it was truly a best interest of the client situation. So it's owned by Bill Johnson and Rhonda Stryker, who are phenomenal people in the Kalamazoo area. So Western Michigan is riddled with their name. And so Rhonda's, I think it was her grandfather Homer, started Stryker Medical. And so I learned a lot, cut my teeth. I was 27 or 28 by the time I got into wealth management. And I just put my head down and I just decided to grind. So I was working 50, 60, 70 hours, 8, 9, 10 o'clock at night. And what I noticed was the Excel skills that I had learned at Adventus CG with Dave in the master bedroom of a condo came in very handy while dealing with large amounts of data for clients. So I was kind of one of the Excel people. There are a few other ones, but so while I'm at, it's a funny story, it's kind of random, but while I'm at Greenleaf, I get a call, about a year in, I get a call from Dave Lewicki at Adventus. He says, "Hey, Brandon, I'm going to start a financial modeling company where we're going to train undergraduate students how to build financial models in Excel." I said, "All right, this is an interesting concept. Tell me more." And he says, there's companies like Wall Street, Prep, and Training the Street that go to these undergraduate universities, but they have templates. They're not building things from scratch, and we can do it better. So I love that. Like, okay, let's challenge a company or companies that are way larger than us. We have no right to even be in the ball game, and let's go play ball with them. So we decide, we get into like one or two schools. So Miami of Ohio was one of them, Northwestern, Michigan State. And so we decide we're going to drive around the country on the weekends when I'm not working at Greenleaf Trust. And we're going to go and train undergraduates how to build financial models in Excel. Fast forward, we build a company into I think there's 30 or 40 universities now. We have investment analysts all over investment banking, all over the U.S. Took a lot of business from Training the Street and Wall Street Prep. And we got into universities like Harvard, Brown. I mean, colleges that I would never be able to get into on my own merit. But here we are teaching, right? So it's very, very funny how that comes full circle. And so we got through that. And I remember Dave and I were driving to the middle of Iowa, like a Sunday afternoon. And it was just a drag trying to get all the way back to Michigan. We came up with this idea of like, hey, the CFA, which is what a lot of people want to be, or maybe go on that route. They have level 1, level 2, level 3 certifications. We should model this business after that. So we did. And so I think that was one of the catalysts that caught on because it took multiple rounds of us visiting universities and got sticky. And we learned that the skills we were teaching these undergraduate students, banks, investment banks specifically really wanted them, and they weren't finding them. So I continued to do that for a while. And then I got to a point in my I would call my career, my main job, that was going to be side hustle that turned into something. I was starting to get new clients, and I thought, Greenleaf Trust is a great organization, but why would I build a company for somebody else? They're just going to trade me money for time. There's no rainbow there's no pot of gold at the end of this rainbow. I'm building someone else's wealth, someone else's company. And if I think I can do it, I need to bet on myself. I need to take the chance, and I need to lead. It was a pretty tough. I mean, I remember driving. So I talked to Voisard Asset Management Group, Doug Voisard, the founder of our company, in 2015. And I said, hey, let's do this. Like, I'm ready to do this. And I'm driving to Greenleaf Trust to resign, but I'm not sure I'm going to resign. It was like, I think I'm going to do this. I don't know. I remember praying like, oh, help me, God. I don't know what I'm doing. I mean, it was crazy. And so I get down there and I'm talking to a guy named Dan Rinsema, who's one of my good friends now. And I'm really thankful that he gave me the shot back in 2013 when no one else probably would take a chance on a 27-year-old associate. He did. And I'm sitting across the desk from him, and he says, so what are you going to do? Because I was honest, and I said, hey, I'm thinking about this offer. And I looked at him and I said, I think I'm going to take it. And he goes, I hate to say it, but I think it's the right call. And so I left. And normally those companies, they walk you out and that's it. But they let me walk around and say goodbye to the relationships I built there. And we left on great terms. And it's still a great company. But here now I'm a partner. Doug's transitioned out of the business eventually here. And so I had that shot, and I took the chance to say, hey, let's bet on somebody. Let's bet on me, and let's hope this goes all right. And that was a little nerve-wracking. So that's kind of how I got to today. It wasn't a straight line at all, as you can see. It was very back and forth. And I would say probably took the long road a few times. But here we are today.
Talk to me about production. So the notion of this podcast is big hitters. So what are you guys at from an AUM perspective, and like what's I guess your typical run rate for a year?
Yeah, so it's interesting. I started and we were right around the 100 million threshold, give or take. We're over $500 million now. So if you do the math, about a 20% growth rate, give or take. And some years we've had 30-40% growth, and some years have been a little less. So it averages out to be about 20%. And so what we've noticed is, wealth management is never a straight line. So you put a bunch of money into getting new business, and then you have to service that, right? Because that's what builds your business. And then sometimes you take your eye off the growth piece. So we've noticed it ebbs and flows. But yeah, 20% has been about the growth rate since I've started, and I don't see why it wouldn't be the same this year.
Do you have a particular niche or type of client that you typically serve? Is there, a trend with business owners or retirees, or what's the kind of the typical person that comes through your doors?
Yeah, I think that question's funny because I always sit there and I smile and say, well, it's kind of multifaceted, because you have to look ahead as a business owner and say, what can I afford to take on from a business perspective? Or what am I going to sacrifice now because I know what's going to happen in the future, right? Or I think what's going to come to fruition. And so what we look at is like a young professional, maybe $500,000 we'll take, and we'll say, hey, we're going to work with you because we believe, right? We're going to bet on you, we're going to bet on yourself, and we're going to help grow your portfolio and kind of the trajectory of where your life's headed. And then for retirees, we probably want to see $1 or $2 million, because we know that at that point of life, they're going to start drawing down, right? And you don't save money to not use it in retirement, right? There's no hearse with a luggage rack. You're not taking it with you. You might have goals, right, for multi-generational.
That's funny. I've never heard that. I like that. I'm stealing it.
No hearse with a luggage rack?
Yeah, I haven't heard that one.
Yeah, you exit this world as you entered.
Yeah.
But it's a side caveat, but as people, we exit with one thing that we didn't start with, and that's integrity and a reputation that hopefully we build up over time, right? So I think there is one thing we can take with us, and so we want to help our clients from a niche perspective. We want to help them build out that legacy, and we want to help them grow that legacy. And what we know is this: we like to focus on the after-tax, after-fee return. We want to keep fees low, and we want to do an uber great job of tax planning. Accountants are good looking backwards, but what they fail to do is look forward. In our job, all clients want us to do all the time is say, predict the future. Well, I don't have a crystal ball, but I can do a lot of damage from a legacy perspective, and the positive of if we can look at your tax return, we can project out for years how to properly withdraw funds during and even before retirement. And you're always going to have to pay tax on money if you haven't paid it in the beginning. But let's figure out when's the best time to take that tax hit. And we've been able to lengthen our portfolios decades by just doing the proper tax planning. And a lot of advisors will say, give me the money, let me invest it, and that's that. But we're going to look at it entirely different. We want to make sure that we are helping our clients. Our purpose is to let them lead this life knowing that we've done the best to help them live the most fulfilling life that they can.
I love that. Okay. Time and energy freedom. So I shared a little bit before we hopped on. My first business led me to a mental breakdown. On my way to the mental health facility, I picked up a copy of a book called Buy Back Your Time, which is all about living in your sweet spot, your wheelhouse. But talk to me a little bit about time freedom. Like, what does that mean to you, and how have you achieved it, or are you trying to achieve it?
It's interesting. I think the time quagmire is really, it hits us all at some point. So once you continue to do the right things and you continue to be more successful, while you have more success, you have less time, right? That's the natural succession of an advisor or anybody who's successful, right? Is you have less time. And everybody wants your time. But here, if we look at what our goal is for ourselves and for our clients and for our employees, on my tombstone, I don't want it to say, number one, great business owner. Number two, number three, whatever else. That I want it to be number one, great husband. Number two, great father. Great community member. Great things that don't involve business. And so when I look at my time, I try to say, hey, there are things that will take away from my number one goal, which is being a great husband and a great father. And I look at the time with my kids when they're young. I'm not going to get that back any other time in life. So time is so precious as we become more successful here in this company. we try to protect each other's times. And that comes down to automating the processes, procedures, and looking at operationally, are you being efficient? Because I can't make more of that, right? You can buy a little bit of time if you're more efficient, but time is tough. Like, we're not defined by what we say yes to. I think sometimes we're defined by what we say no to.
That's good. That's really well said. Okay, AI. How are you using it? Where do you feel like you could be using it that you're not?
Yeah, and it's funny because people think, or I've heard them say AI is taking over the world. I think yes and no. I think if you look at AI, like the people that are going to rise above are the people that know how to use it to their advantage, right? So if I look at AI, we use it in a couple different ways. So like we went through this whole operational exercise where we were saying, where's a lot of our time being spent? And the crazy thing was a lot of our time being spent wasn't even during our meetings or post meetings. It was planning the meetings, setting like scheduling, and you go back and forth, back and forth. So, and everyone's heard of this, but Calendly was a big implementation that we've used to just, hey, set the parameters, set the schedules, and let the people figure out when they want to have meetings with us. And it's off my plate. It's done. We also use something called Zox, right? So Zox is an AI tool that basically will organize all the data in my CRM for my client. And it will, before a meeting, tell me all the things I've talked about with the client in the last 3 meetings, the things that were pain points, the emails I've sent, and it will organize me with the thought process of how I want to frame my meeting. And I've trained this system to also then take notes during the meeting and craft follow-up emails or tasks that are specific to how I like to run my practice, right? And so a firm, we are a collective team, but each advisor operates differently. So we each trained our Zox bot, if you will, to think and act kind of like us. And so it cuts down the meeting prep in half. And it also, the post follow-up work that we have to do cuts that in half. I mean, it doesn't do everything perfectly, and it never will, but it organizes it in a way where it's like, I've got a really good framework, and it puts pieces of conversations that may be fragmented in the right buckets for me. I don't have to think about it. It's already there.
Where do you feel like you could be, where could you be using it that you're not?
That's a great question. So if you look at like our business specifically, right? I think we want to maintain a high touch point, right? So we want to be calling our clients. We want to be in contact with them. We want to be out in front of anything that might happen from an economic standpoint or stock market standpoint or anything like that. But I think where a lot of companies, and it's us specifically, where we could be improving the use of AI would be the prep work, right? Like we have people right now that will get all these documents ready. It will pull. And the people, I mean, Zox will do some of this, right? But people have to go and clip different things from different, like as an advisor, you normally use 3 or 4 different CRMs or platforms just to like, there's no one size fits all kind of for our industry. And there will be one day. But if I could somehow have AI schedule like all my time, reply to all my emails, things that like follow-up tasks, things that like an advisor should a really good advisor should only do the top 20% most difficult tasks. They're the really value add for a client. The bottom 80%, anyone could do it. But right now, we haven't figured out a way to automate the bottom 50% of the work or 80% of the work. I mean, I want people's eyes on to make sure the AI is right, but I want AI to set things up so that they spend 15 minutes instead of an hour on the project.
Yeah, I hear you. All right. Last question is, now is your time to talk about anything that we haven't talked about. So what is something that you're really passionate about or want to talk about that we didn't get to talk about today?
I was thinking about this question the last few days, and I think, I've a lot of people ask me like, what sets you apart, or what's different about your business, or what's different about you, and I search because a lot of people are going to say the same thing. Well, we work hard, we care about clients, we put them first. Yeah, that's true, right? But I think, when we look at our business and the way we try to set ourselves apart from the rest of the competition, it's purpose and values. So what's the purpose? What's the true purpose of why I do what I do? What's the true purpose of why we do what we do? And the true purpose is to help our clients live the most fulfilled or fulfilling life they can live. I mentioned it earlier. And so you look at that, how do you get there? You get there by a collective set of values. And we just went through this exercise recently, too, as we start to grow our practice and continue to transition. If there's something that you would stop doing because revenue or net income is decreasing, it's not a true value. A true value is something that inner core of who you are, you will never sacrifice to make a dime. You won't do it. And so our core values here is we're not going to make a dime the wrong way. I'd rather exit this world penniless than make money the wrong way on somebody, knowing that wasn't in their best interest and it was in my best interest. I simply will not do it, ever. At one point in life, I'm going to have to answer for that, right? And I got one shot here. So for us, I think, and I think a lot of, you're on this podcast, Big Hitters, right? I kind of smirked and I said, well, I don't know if I consider myself a big hitter, but I do consider this. I do consider us to look out for the best interest of our clients first, foremost, and always. And I think no matter how the trajectory turns out over the next 20 years, if you can just hold true to that, your biggest advocate, I don't need to tell my story, because the people that we serve will tell the story for us. And I think people miss that a lot in business. You can look at CAGRs and run rates and revenue and margins, and yeah, that stuff's important. We're numbers people. But the most important thing is, what value are we adding to people's lives? And if I can't go home and say, I'm not adding value to people's lives, what am I doing here? I don't see the purpose in that, right? Money for money's sake is pointless to me.
Yeah.
We want to try to be good people, be good humans, and touch the lives of the people that we work with.
Well, Brandon, if people want to find out more about who you are and what you do, where can they go?
Voisardgroup.com is our website. You can email me at bbauer@voisardgroup.com. We're happy to have a conversation with anybody at any point. And what we tell people is this: don't worry about the balances. We'll figure that part out. We want to have conversations. We want to add value. And we're not going to say no to a conversation because you think you don't meet the threshold.
Yeah. I love that. Thank you so much for joining us on this podcast. And you guys can stay tuned for more episodes of the Big Hitters podcast. And Brandon, any parting thoughts?
No, thanks for doing what you're doing, Andrew. I think it's important to shed light into what people are doing in across the states and in this industry. So keep doing what you're doing, and we're looking forward to hearing more from you, man.
You're a big hitter in my book, man. Thanks for coming with us. So appreciate it.
Thanks, Andrew.
All right.